Next topic, winter snow driving tips. Stay safe on the road and life-saving tips from a well-traveled Pennsylvanian. So we all know that an accident can cost you injury or your life, and that is why it is very important to follow safety tips for driving in the snow. And being more knowledgeable about driving in the snow can really help you stay safe in very sticky situations. And I absolutely love driving in the snow, so I really wanted to create this video. According to Geico and the Department of Transportation, roughly 4,891,000 vehicle crashes in the United States occur every year, where approximately 21% occur as a result of adverse weather, and 6,000 fatalities occur, as well as 445,000 injuries. So it is definitely important to learn tips for driving in the snow and reduce your chances of snow-related accidents, injuries, or even worse. Here is a quick story. As a driver born in Pennsylvania, I was new to driving manual vehicles, and when my ex-friend led us into the mountain snow in a tiny sports car in Oregon, I was able to save us from getting stuck with no service in the middle of nowhere in snow on a mountain. And yes, this is literally as bad as it gets. Self-service was pretty bad and or non-existent in that exact position, and our GPS map wasn't working because there was no service, and it unhappily showed us basically roads but no actual direction on where to go, and so we were pretty lost almost. So we basically ended up high in a mountain. There started to be snow, and the car just didn't really have much traction. So while my ex-friend was pretty good at driving manual vehicles, I at the time was not. But based on my snow driving experience, I was able to get us out of that predicament, and basically I had driven the manual vehicle backwards down the mountain until we got to a safe spot to turn around and then continue downward. So basically from there, the entire drive in general, we were going from Oregon to California, San Francisco Bay Area, so it was just en route. Not the best idea to end up in a mountain with a manual vehicle that is a sports car and in snow. So in order to get out of there, we had to just basically stop where we're at because the car just did not have very good traction, and then just continue to back down the mountain until we are at a safe spot to turn around. So sometimes you just have to be a little bit creative and just do your best. But I think one of the key ideas here is when things become a little unsafe, you cannot continue to go forward. You need to just stop and turn around and go back. Because going forward is not always the best option, and especially if you're lost. One of the most important things you can do usually is stop, reflect, and not continue forward, because if you continue forward, oftentimes you actually get more lost. So I avoid going forward and instead stop and reflect, or even retrace your steps. So instead of trying to turn around in the worst possible situation ever, I chose to back down the mountain carefully with our dainty sporty car tires, and we drove pretty centered without any sudden turns, speed changes, and at a careful speed. When the road improved, we turned around, and I did not want to get us stuck while turning around in these areas, so I did try to focus staying out of the snow when we were turning around and out of the grass, or just basically stay on the road for the best traction. And so we did manage to get home safely, and that is all that matters. I would say you should probably not do as we did, and instead drive a car with better traction through the mountains. So here are some tips to help you get home safely and also do the same. You'll definitely want to maintenance your vehicle in preparation for winter and snow time. Getting new tires, for instance. So depending on your region of the USA, everybody takes different actions in preparation for winter as well. So in the South, you should probably, get new tires so then you can maneuver better. In the Northeast, it's common that we get snow tires installed in preparation for winter, and then for the Northwest, they actually implement chains on their tires, um, which took a little bit of getting used to. Definitely ensure that your vehicle passes inspections and is in good condition to not break down. Make sure that your lights, hazard lights, and turn signals are all functioning well. Ensure that your brakes are in good condition and confirm that your tires have a safe air pressure. Get your oil changed before you start the winter season and around October. Ensure that your battery is working well and check your fluids. Clear snow from your car before driving and maintain an emergency kit in your vehicle for changing tires, jumping your car battery, and or just maintaining your health and safety. So you may want to have emergency supplies in your car like bottled water, snacks, blankets, or extra clothing. I do like to have an emergency kit and items like that just in case. And it's definitely something very wise and learned by the US Coast Guard values of Semper Paratus, always being ready, and it is definitely unsafe to drive in the snow without these different items stored in your car and just simply being prepared in case of any emergency. So you'll definitely want to make sure you have no snow on your vehicle. It is actually illegal to drive with snow on your vehicle in certain states as well. So there's an important thing you should consider when it comes to winter driving. Do you actually have to be on the road? You should definitely avoid driving in adverse weather and snow whenever possible. Understand the power of nature and do not underestimate the power of nature either. Snow can be deep, slippery, and offer minimal, if any, traction. Winds can be very powerful and push vehicles that are boxy and light. Snow and fog can impact your ability to see in front of you, and cold temperatures may be freezing and cause you to become hyperthermic. Another funny story is I was driving down from Washington to Oregon, Bend, Oregon to be precise, and I drove through Portland, Oregon, and to literally drive through the city during a snowstorm. And it was a crazy snowstorm, and everything was icy with black ice everywhere. And as I stopped at one of the traffic lights, I literally turned to see a bus going diagonally down a hill, sliding on ice the whole way. And I'm just at the bottom of the hill looking up, like, oh my goodness. At the stoplight, just like, oh my gosh, there is a bus coming down the hill diagonally. Like, everybody get out of the way. It was crazy. Everybody, like, better get out of the way, basically. And it was kind of crazy because it's like, you know, downtown, and there were just so many cars on the road that probably didn't need to be there. But basically, it was just a huge ice storm that pretty much destroyed all the vehicles were like literally sliding everywhere. There were just so many like accidents happening, and it was just crazy to see. So definitely be careful definitely be careful driving down hills and be aware of your surroundings, because you'll want to give yourself a little bit extra time to stop and everything like that. And so I continued south and driving toward Bend, and it was really interesting because it during this drive, like driving through mountains and everything, and I finally get to my end destination and arrived at my aunt and uncle's house at around, I think, 4 a.m. or 2 a.m. And the temperature outside was like negative something. It was super cold. So, me not wanting to bother anyone, I ended up camping out in front of my aunt and uncle's house at around like 2 or 4 a.m. In negative degree temperatures. Didn't want to bother them or wake them up as I arrived at their house. So what I ended up doing is just camping out in my car for a couple hours, just taking a nap because it was nighttime. But it was really, really cold outside, and that only lasted like a couple hours until I was like, okay, it's 6 a.m. I'm waking them up. So I call them and they're like, Alyssa, we left the door open for you the whole time. I was like, okay, I could have literally entered the house at, you know, whatever time I arrived and then went to sleep in a normal bed. But anyway, decided to camp into my car, just take a nap in my car upon arrival because I didn't want to bother them at like 2 to 4 a.m. But anyway, it was pretty funny. So the point that I'm getting at is when it's negative degree temperatures, it is absolutely freezing in your car, and I don't care how many blankets you have, it is not a fun experience. It's pretty miserable. And so you definitely want to avoid being outside in very cold temperatures. And if the temperatures are below freezing and if they're under 20 degrees, not even like 32, I would say don't, drive around in these temperatures if you don't have to be, because if you just imagine like getting stranded, like for real, in these negative temperatures, it is not going to be fun and it's going to be a very precarious situation, especially if you don't have like blankets and stuff like that I had in my car. If you don't have those supplies, the situation can turn to be deadly very quickly. And so I would say that you definitely want to be acknowledging of the temperature outside, and the wind chill. If it's very windy, if it's very cold temperatures, you may want to avoid driving altogether because it's simply not a risk that you should take, to be outside and in these temperatures and risk, what if your car breaks down in the middle of nowhere? It's just not a good idea. So that comes back to my main point. Do you really have to be on the road during these adverse weather conditions? Understand that, nature is powerful and snow can be deep, slippery, and dangerous. And, the winds can be very dangerous as well and make the temperatures outside feel even colder than they actually are. So on top of that, snow conditions can impact visibility and your ability to see as you're driving, and then fog can also enhance your inability to see what's in front of you. And so, overall, the situation of snow driving can be very, very dangerous and definitely cold, and nobody likes that. So, you do not want to be out during freezing temperatures, just within several hours or even minutes if you're in water. You can become hyperthermic, and it's just a very dangerous situation to find yourself in. So, before you drive in the snow, learn how your vehicle handles as well. Take your car to a nearby parking lot or open space and practice driving. Practice braking, practice turning, and see what your maneuverability is within a controlled environment at different speeds. By practicing driving in the snow within a flat open space that may not have obstacles to hit, like a parking lot, you actually figure out how to better maneuver your car in other situations, like being on the road where there actually are more hazards, street signs, lights, pedestrians, and unexpected hazards. And so if you're not very good at driving the car in the snow in a parking lot, then you're not going to drive very well out on the road where there's other hazards. So definitely be sure to practice driving and figure out the maneuverability of your car in the snow prior to heading out onto the road. Practice, have some fun, do some circles, in the parking lot. That's what I recommend. So be sure to realize, how long does it take to come to a complete stop? How much does your car slide when you brake? And, is it very effective at turning? And it is definitely best for you to understand how your car handles and how much it may slide in snow before you get into an emergency situation out in your everyday life. So the maneuverability of your car will differ with the surface that you're driving on. That's actually just physics and the force of friction, but basically your driving maneuverability will differ when you drive on ice, when you drive on snow, or heavier, thicker snow, or any other surface. Be sure to practice all of the above. Ice is also very slippery, and you're driving and your car will maneuver differently on ice as well. And the thing about ice is there can definitely be black ice that you don't even see, and it can cause you to swerve off the road without expecting or even seeing it coming. Light snow is also slippery as well. Thick snow can get your car stuck, so that's pretty unsafe as well. And interestingly, thick snow can be helpful if you're trying to slow your vehicle down, because if you're driving through thicker snow, it'll cause force of friction to slow your vehicle to a stop easier. And so depending on what situation you're getting in, it may be interesting to utilize physics to your benefit. And You know, if you're losing control, driving through heavier snow may cause your car to stop quicker. Snowy, watery slush is maybe fun and different driving in snowy, watery slush as well. Driving in that mix can definitely offer unique experiences. So depending on the surface that you're driving on, driving will be a little bit different. But a lot of these tips could carry a good amount of weight regardless of where and what surface you are driving on. So here are some prevention tips. Definitely avoid sudden changes in speed or direction because they may cause you to lose control of your vehicle. Realize that when you're driving in snow, sudden changes in speed or direction will cause you to lose traction and control, and gradual changes in speed and direction are definitely better. Here's another fun tip that I'm not sure if you've ever heard very often, but you can definitely maintain extra added weight in your vehicle to improve its ability to handle in the snow. And so one of my family's favorite fun tips is to maintain salt or kitty litter bags in your car. This added weight in your vehicle will improve the traction of the vehicle to the road and your ability to maneuver in the snow. And then also, as an added benefit, if you do get stuck, you can place the contents of the salt or kitty litter under your tires to improve your ability to get a grip and traction and drive out of the snow when you are stuck. And so you can always sprinkle a little bit of the salt or kitty litter near the tires, um, obviously after you've dug yourself out a little bit, and that will really help you get some traction so you can drive out of the snow when you're stuck. And so, yeah, just a little bit of kitty litter can go a long way. I, for one, would probably prefer the idea of keeping salt in your car because for me it's like a little bit more utility with that. And anyway. You also want to place your hazard lights on when the roads are unsafe or when you feel uncomfortable due to any issue at all. If you're not very good at driving in the snow and it's snowing out, then you should probably put your hazard lights on just to like inform the other drivers that you're not the best driver and they should keep an eye out for you. um, so don't be afraid to put your hazard lights on when you're driving in unsafe conditions or when you're uncomfortable or when your car has an actual issue. You can turn on your lights so that you're more visible to other vehicles as well. You can preventatively reduce your driving speed or allow yourself more reaction time by reducing your speed. Driving slower will allow you to be less apt to slide as well. And you'll also prevent losing control of your vehicle or sliding as far when you are, trying to push the brakes for a quick stop. At minimum, drive at least 10 miles per hour under the speed limit. And yes, I said at minimum of 10 miles per hour less. That means that you can drive more than 10 miles per hour less than the minimum I just recommended. You'll definitely overall want to just drive slower because you'll prevent unsafe situations while also allowing yourself more reaction time if any emergency occurs. Do not utilize cruise control in snow or rain as well. Cruise control may lead you to be more apt to slide or lose control of your vehicle. You'll want to reduce your speed and follow at a safe distance behind other vehicles, and when there are other vehicles on the road, definitely drive defensively. Be ready to beep within an emergency and surround yourself with good drivers whenever possible. Try to implement control over your surroundings when you have some level of control. If you can slow down so you have more distance or slow down so you're around less cars, you're gonna have a safer situation versus, being next to other cars or driving near the vehicle in front of you. Always give yourself space to other vehicles and have some level of control over your surroundings whenever possible. So, for instance, one of my favorite things to do is follow good drivers. If there are good drivers that you see on the road, surround yourself with the better drivers. And when you see bad drivers on the road, you can get away from them, create distance between them because defensively, it's not safe to be around bad drivers. It's like life, don't surround yourself with bad drivers. You can also drive with your foot over the brake instead of lazily sitting on the floor. You can provide vehicles in front of you extra space of at least 5+ seconds to allow yourself more time to stop in emergencies. This is definitely important because tailgating can literally cause unsafe hazards that are preventable. You do not have to tailgate, and you also don't have to speed. Don't be afraid to stop driving when you are in unsafe conditions. You know, stay in a safe place and stop and take a pause and relax and reflect, and then wait for conditions to improve before getting out on the road again. You know, it's never a bad thing to stop and, like, assess your situation before continuing forward. It actually usually helps enhance the safety and decision making that you will make, if an emergency occurs. That being said, definitely do not pull off of the road into an area that's not plowed or unsafe, because you may get stuck in the snow and the ice and get yourself into a worse situation than you had before. So definitely be strategic and careful when you're making a stop, and don't put yourself in deep snow or on the side of the road in an area where there is snow, or as you're driving uphill, don't stop halfway up the hill because you're never going to make it the full way. At that point, if you're stuck on an upward incline, really the only way to get up the hill at that point is not to continue forward, but probably to go backward and then gain speed and then go up the hill. So you will definitely want to be strategic, where you are stopping your vehicle, because if you stop in certain areas, you're bound to get stuck, and you do not want to get stuck. Instead, I like to take the exit and park at a local restaurant, Walmart, or other store. It just is a lot safer because you're less apt to get stuck, they usually plow more, and usually it's a well-lit area that just feels safer. So with my background in meteorology, I also really enjoy creating this type of video because I really assess weather and data extensively just in my everyday life. So a lot of people go out on their adventures and they don't really consider the weather in the way that I do and consider it through my eyes. So for me, I would prefer to go play volleyball, not when it's a billion degrees outside, super hot out and miserable. Instead, I would prefer to do it in better, cooler, more normal, moderate temperatures. And then when it comes to the snow driving as well, like, you're more apt to hit black ice if you're in a specific type of meteorological situation. For instance, like if it was raining all day and then the temperatures become decreased during nightfall, below 38 degrees to like 28 degrees, and it was raining during the day, and then during the nightfall with the decrease in temperatures, you're more apt to get black ice. And then because of that, I also consider physics, which is, I may go a little bit faster in speed or just driving at my normal speed, but then if I see turns in the road, I am going to decrease my speed extensively, because if you are to hit black ice on that turn, that is very dangerous situation. So for me, I consider physics and meteorology when I'm driving, and when it comes to weather, when you're decreasing temperature due to nightfall, there are increased chances of you hitting ice as you're driving because the temperatures are so cold. And the same thing goes with, like if it's 40 degrees out, are you gonna hit ice? No. Simple, obvious, right? Come on. But when it comes to physics, always slow down at turns. Also, they always show you those signs. Everyone else probably doesn't pay attention to them as much as I do, but they say, the bridge is more apt to freeze versus the ground. So when you're crossing bridges, be careful of black ice, because the bridge is surrounded by air. And so because it's surrounded by air, it is more apt to freeze at a quicker amount of time versus the ground, which, the dirt kind of insulates it. So if you're going to hit black ice, more commonly you're going to hit it on a bridge. Or, if you're going to hit black ice, it's going to be very dangerous if you hit the black ice at a turn. So definitely slow down and reduce your speed at turns and at bridges, for sure. Black ice is clear and pretty close to impossible to see, so it definitely is not a very good situation to be in, because it'll get you, because you'll be surprised to hit it altogether. It occurs when the wet road freezes, usually overnight, but also during daylight hours, and this can happen as a result of rain falling, then freezing due to below freezing ground temperatures as well. So you don't even necessarily need the air temperature to be freezing. If the ground temperature is freezing, you may be apt to experience black ice. Black ice can also occur due to natural freezing and thawing temperatures, where the snow melts to become water, then freezes to ice due to colder temperatures. As noted, this can occur for bridges as they are super cold in the winter, and unlike natural Earth, which stays naturally warmer due to its capacity to hold heat. Also be aware, are you driving up and down in elevations for mountain passes? With these temperature decreases, they may cause you to come across ice, and this can happen unexpectedly. You may become relaxed, and it only takes one wrong turn for you to cause a very dangerous situation for yourself. You can slide off the road, into the guardrail, or even worse. During the daylight hours, sun can also thaw and melt snow, and so it's more effective. It will also more effectively melt snow on black asphalt versus white concrete bridges, and that's another reason why bridges tend to have iced up. So this means that, it may never rise to above 30-degree air temperatures, but the road's heat absorption will melt the snow into water, allowing it to more easily freeze unexpectedly as black ice. And so once the direct sunlight reduces at sunset, that water that may have melted during the day can easily freeze to black ice during the nighttime hours, and your ability to see also decreases, which causes you to slip unexpectedly. Yes, I have a minor in meteorology and oceanography. Driving deep into the science of this is definitely something I love doing. And I love learning about how the world works around me, and I hope you enjoy these perspectives as well. As I think that they really enhance your life when you really understand the science behind the actions that you're taking. So definitely be sure to put on your hazard lights in more dangerous conditions like snow driving or in ice. Reduce your speed, especially when you are driving in temperatures under 32 degrees or even driving at night. You can maintain awareness of the temperature gauge in your car. It's actually a very helpful tool that offers you priceless information. But I add a buffer of a couple degrees so then, even if the gauge is inaccurate in some way, you can still have an indication of whether or not black ice would be common by really, being aware of the car temperature indicator. And then, using that temperature reading to consider whether or not ice or black ice or even, rain to snow conditions would be likely for you. And then on top of that, if the temperatures are reading, under 20 degrees, you may not want to drive at all because, if you get stuck in freezing temperatures, you are putting yourself in a precarious situation, and it's not very, nobody likes to suffer in freezing temperatures. Reduce your speed when roads are wet or when there's precipitation like snow, rain, or other. Reduce your speed gradually before all turns, and if you can't see very well due to visibility, definitely reduce your speed there as well. Sometimes it's actually easier driving in temperatures under 20 degrees because everything is going to be snowy or icy. But when you're driving near 32 degrees, that's when things are more apt to hit you by surprise and catch you off guard. You may experience unexpected ice, which can be 10 times worse than experiencing the problem you expect and know about. So drive extra carefully between the 20 to 35 degree temperatures. Under 20 degrees, you can expect everything to be cold and slippery, but it's in that range of 20 to 35 degrees where things are more apt to hit you by surprise. So when you are sliding in snow or black ice, avoid abrupt changes in speed, direction, or braking. Remember that if you start sliding, that is not the time to make an abrupt turn of your wheel to counter it. These sudden movements can actually cause you to lose control of your vehicle and lose traction to the road. Instead, maintain a steady wheel in the direction that you want to go. And that way, even if you slide, you're going in that direction that you want to go. And give your vehicle more time to get traction before trying to maneuver. Give yourself more reaction time by driving slower speeds and following at further distances. Do not be afraid to stop your vehicle in a safe place and collect your thoughts and reflect. Sometimes, when you're in an emergency or feeling uncomfortable or in a dangerous situation, the worst thing you can do is keep going. Be sure to allow yourself the ability to stop, reflect on your situation, and consider safe actions that you can take to mitigate the risks prior to continuing on. It is never too late to research something, to Google something, to reflect on something, ask someone questions, or open up your map or any other action that can help you foster a better outcome. You can YouTube things, Google things, use ChatGPT, Google Maps, any tool you want. Make a phone call, phone a friend, ask for advice. There's so many things you can do to enhance the outcomes that you are having within the situation you have for yourself. And so definitely take actions to foster a safer situation and help get yourself home to safety. It's never too late to stop, think, get advice, and then continue. Avoid abrupt changes in directions and speed because they can cause you to lose control of your vehicle. And practice gradually turning, especially in snow, because you allow your vehicle to gain traction before turning, and avoid abrupt changes in speed or even braking because you want to ensure that you have proper traction as you're making these motions and maneuvers with your car. Instead, you should tap your brakes for gradual braking and allow your vehicle to gain traction before braking more. Driving in snow and fog, allow yourself to have more space in front of you and avoid tailgating other vehicles. Snow and fog driving, you'll also want to avoid high beams as the light reflects off of the snow and fog to impact your ability to see. It does not actually help it. High beams will reflect on the particles, and it's better for you to have your normal lights on instead of your high beams within snow conditions or even fog. So you'll also want to reduce your speed, put on hazard lights, be ready to beep within an emergency to inform others around you of the situation. And when you're driving up and down inclines, for instance, within my infamous Portland, Oregon story, you'll definitely want to maneuver carefully at slower speeds and ensure that you have control of your braking, and not sliding, and then make sure you look ahead to make sure that you have a strategy to stop if you lose control. Like, for instance, as I was sledding as a kid, we were on the sled going down our hill, and we realized that if we lost control, we would just go into the snow pile that was right before the big steep dip. So, having like an outlet, understanding that there is a strategic thing that you can do to prevent even worse injury or harm. For us, we were going down our hill. If we lost control, we would go into the snow pile. So, have yourself like a backup safety option, in certain situations when possible. When you're driving up or down a hill on a mountainous incline, be sure to drive super carefully. Like, give yourself a buffer, give yourself more space, and drive slower. Do not allow your car too much momentum to run away and lead you to be unable to stop. If you end up sliding down a mountain diagonally, then there's really not much you could do in that type of situation other than try to gain control and maneuverability of your vehicle. If you can drive into a snow pile like we did with our sleds, that'd be great. But you should definitely stay aware of your surroundings, maybe put your lights on so then cars can, see you better, and then maybe hit your horn. In snowy situations in general, you'll definitely want to be aware of your surroundings and not be afraid to hit the gas or turn your wheel to maneuver out of the way of other potential collisions. The reality is you're in a situation and you should always be ready for something. Whenever able, you should definitely maneuver out of the way of potential collisions. Sometimes doing nothing is actually a good action to take. There's a lot of different circumstances out there, and you'll just have to do what's best for you within the circumstances that you're given. Sometimes other vehicles have better control of their vehicle within a situation than you do, and so sometimes you just have limited options and can only do your best. Definitely be sure to test your brakes and ensure that they are effectively bringing you to a stop prior to getting out on the road. Use your hazard lights, avoid abrupt changes in directions and speed, and changes in braking as well, because they might impact your traction and ability to maneuver in snow and ice. When you're stuck in a snowstorm, it is okay to stop and wait for conditions to improve. Avoid stopping in areas where snow is heavy and avoid allowing snow to build up on your car when it is stopped. You should definitely avoid stopping in snow when you're driving up a hill or mountain, because you don't want to get stuck on the hill or mountain. If you must stop, ensure that the ground is flat and that there's not a heavy amount of snow that you'll get stuck in. Definitely be strategic on where you're stopping your vehicle, because if you have no momentum, you may get stuck. Definitely also consider, is it actively snowing? Because if it's actively snowing, that snow may accumulate and cause you to get stuck as well. So stay inside of your vehicle when you are stopped, unless it is unsafe to do so. Because, if you wander out into the wilderness, you may get lost, and then you have even worse situation, and you're succumbing yourself to very cold temperatures, which is very dangerous. So your car will keep you warmer, drier, safer, and it will also help you get found by rescuers, so you'll definitely want to stay near your vehicle. Figure out what supplies you have in your emergency kit and inside your car, and your front mirror can be used as a signal device as well. Your items in your car, including your seats, can be burned outside to signal for help. And when trees around you are too wet, maintain a lighter, knife, rope, water, clothing, or other emergency supplies in your vehicle for moments like this. If you leave your car, know that it will be pretty much impossible for anyone to track you based on your footprints and tracks, because, for instance, snow may cover these tracks and make it very difficult to find you. Manage your supplies and body heat by keeping warm and active. Ventilate your car slightly to mitigate carbon monoxide poisoning, and do not allow your exhaust pipe to become overwhelmed by snow. This advice specifically comes from my old employer, FEMA, the Emergency Management Agency. Fire, smoke, and the words SOS and help are often searched for by rescuers, so hopefully you never get stuck somewhere remote or on the top of a mountain or something. I'm not sure if you see the comedy in the following quote. "Welcome to winter driving, where lanes are made up and stop signs are optional." Firstly, this cracks me up because it reminds me of Whose Line Is It Anyway? One of my favorite TV shows. The show where all is made up and nothing matters, apparently. I'm just kidding. The rules don't matter. Well, comedically, I basically repeatedly told you the secret to driving in snow is make gradual changes in speed, direction, or braking. Basically, avoid coming to a full stop when you do not need to. Just kidding. But really though, make sure when you do come to a stop, you're coming to a stop in a safe, strategic way, in a safe place, and be sure to prevent getting stuck anywhere, because you do not want to get stuck in the snow. Be extra careful in these type of situations where fog, ice, snow exist. And definitely be careful in temperatures of 20 to 35 degrees, because that's usually when these unexpected issues can occur in an unexpected way. It's when it's freezing outside that you don't really expect the unexpected. And usually that's when the most severe issues occur. Do be careful in these situations, follow street signs and proper rules of the road, and do not ignore the power of nature. All can be very difficult to overcome or prevent, but in moments of adversity, you'll definitely want to do your best, and remember, prevention is the best solution to most any problem. Thank you so much for joining me on this video, and if you would love to have some more insight into how you can level up your life, live a safer and better life, definitely be sure to click on the videos above.